from somewhere you wish you were.
It's just what the world needed. Another podcast.
Only this time, it's different.
That's right. We're going to talk to the most interesting personalities in combat sports and pop culture.
Plus, we share the most inspirational stories of the week.
That and more right now on the Rutten and Ranallo Show. Yo, 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 and away we go. Boy, does it feel good to be able to say that again. And boy, does it ever feel good to say, what's up, boss?
Woo! Well, yesterday it was not good. It was rain. Today it was this beautiful sun here in sunny California. But check this out, Mauro. First of all, super duper stoked that we work together again.
It's been over 10 years that we've been able to do something like this.
How crazy is
Crazy.
Okay, so listen, I became a grandfather.
What?
Yes, Boss Rutten is a grandfather right now. The little boy's name is Scott. It's for my oldest daughter who lives in Holland. And of course, I went with the holidays. I went to Holland with the whole family and we visited Scott. And he's already clenching his fists. He's already
Do you want him
doing
to be
power
a pro fighter? Do you want him to follow in the footsteps of a king of pancrase and former UFC heavyweight champion?
I would love for him to follow in my footsteps. How cool would that be? That one generation further, suddenly the son becomes the champ.
Well, I'm thinking coming this fall, the world's most dangerous grandfather.
Or the world's most dangerous grandchild.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, we've heard
No,
the problem.
we
We've
can do
had
it.
problem child. We need grandchildren are usually with their grandparents. They usually behave. Otherwise, not so much.
Yeah. So and I'm the grandparent, so that's going to be good. And you know what I'm already started doing with my fingers? I start hitting his shins very softly. So training his shins already, so you get a little bit more bone there.
Wow. So you are now a grandfather. Here we are. And guess what I am?
You tell me, what are you?
Today, of all days, I get to realize the biggest dream I've ever had. And Buzzito, you remember when we first met?
WWE.
The voice of SmackDown. Can you believe it, Buzz?
It's the craziest thing ever, and I said it before. I said it on Inside MMA when they took you, when they said, okay, we're going to get Mauro as the commentator for New Japan Pro Wrestling. I told everybody at that moment, I say, you watch. Once new WWE is going to hear Mauro, they're going to offer him a job. And then many months later.
And that's why I have to say a big thank you, a big shout out right now to Adam Swift from Access TV. He had the foresight, phoned me last year. It's already been over a year. Can you believe it? In the winter of 2014, I get a call from Adam Swift inquiring about my interest in doing New Japan Pro Wrestling, and of course, having an opportunity at this stage of my career to get back into my first love. I started in pro wrestling at 16, and I was able to work, and I'm looking at it right now, the Stu Hart t-shirt that I have signed by the legendary promoter from Stampede Wrestling. And now here, after all these years, to call not just professional wrestling, boss. And you know my love, the best
one,
the best in the world
like
at that
you
time.
do in boxing,
right?
You're the best in boxing, like with Pride Fighting
Fedor
Championship.
and Crow Cup and Pride, and of course Glory.
You're unbelievable.
It is unbelievable, isn't it? And I owe it all to you, my man.
Oh yeah, well I just give you the push.
Well,
I saw the talent. If you wouldn't have had any talent,
sure.
I would have never mentioned your name. Trust me, I would have said,
so
I don't know anybody.
Here we are. What was supposed to be a 12-episode trial run turns into this amazing year working with Josh Barnett, calling some incredible professional wrestling action. Puroresu, the biggest star being Hiroshi Tanahashi. You wrestled Hiroshi Tanahashi in New Japan Pro Wrestling. People don't realize that you actually were in New Japan Pro Wrestling.
I was in New Japan Pro Wrestling. You know, the first match, I knocked the guy out because he hit me hard. He said he was going to deliver 3 elbows to me, and they would.
Well, they work a strong style,
but they work. No, but the first one was good. Second was okay. The third one was a full hit, so I automatic reflexed and I hit him full, and then he's out.
So you knocked him out. Like
Don Fry is in the corner. He grabs his head. He goes, "Oh no, that was not the game plan here." But then the referee started counting very slow, and he started waking up. Anyway, so when I fought that guy that we were just talking about.
Hiroshi
Tanahashi. He came before the match. He came to me and he asked if I please didn't want to use so much power. And I say, it's a very easy thing. You don't hurt me, I don't hurt you. It's very simple.
It's incredible. And so here we are all these years later. Tonight on USA Network, making my debut with WWE SmackDown. We have, get this, Buzzito. Remember my first Pride show, Bushido 1, October 2003, the main event, Mirko Krokop versus a man with a mask, Lucha Libre, Dos Caras Jr. He's now known as Alberto Del Rio in WWE, and he is involved in the first match that I call in my WWE career. So the first show that I did in Pride in the main event, now he is in the first match that I call in WWE. It's amazing how all of this comes full circle.
You know, we should get him as a guest one time because I have some funny stories with him and Quentin Jackson.
Nice.
Oh,
well, I will do
you're
our
gonna
best
love
to
this
get
story.
Alberto Del Rio. You mentioned Don Fry. He's on our inaugural Pride Fighting Championships flashback. He, of course, going to be talking about maybe the craziest, wildest exchange in combat sports history with Yoshihiro Takayama. And, of course, we're going to have some positive news. You and I have always had fun together, and that's what we want to have on this podcast. We want to have fun. We want to talk to inspiring, entertaining people, and we want to end the show with some positivity. So we're going to end things off with a feel-good 5.
That's what we're going to do. And I love that. And you know what? Yeah, we're always feeling good and always happy, except if equipment doesn't work.
We won't go into that right now because our
We'll come
equipment
back
is
to that.
working just fine.
It's
and
really
guess
great.
what? It's time to get socially active. It's time to find out what's trending around the world. And the bell goes, it's time for hashtag.
Hashtag. Yes, that's right, Mauro. It's 2 hashtags, people. It's one is a symbol, and then it's spelled out at the end. Or, of course, you can turn it around. You do first hashtag spelled out.
I think
then
they
you put the
they
symbol.
get it, boss. It's
Two
hashtag,
symbols.
where we look at what's trending around the world right now. And it's powered by our friends at Squarespace, the all-in-one website platform. Squarespace sites look professionally designed, regardless of your skill level. Believe me, no skill level here, with no coding required. They're intuitive, easy-to-use tools, and Squarespace has state-of-the-art technology powering your site to ensure security and stability. It's trusted by millions of people and some of the most respected brands in the world. Start your free trial site today with no credit card required at squarespace.com. And guess what? If you go to Squarespace right now, make sure to use the offer code BOSS.
Wow.
To get 10% off your first purchase.
Boom, that's how we roll.
That's squarespace.com. Use offer code BAS. Squarespace, build it beautiful.
Wow, and that was well said, beautifully said. You know, actually, our landing page, and we did, guys with no skill, we made our own landing page on Squarespace, RuttenRanallo.com.
You mean we made our own crash landing page?
That's
at
it, yeah.
RuttenRanallo.com. So
It's a work in progress.
Squarespace.com. And let's start now with what's trending in the world. And, of course, everyone talking about Holly Holm, who recorded one of the biggest upsets in MMA history, although you and I didn't think it was the biggest upset, boss, when she defeated Ronda Rousey, that with the kick heard around the world. You, of course, being one of the top strikers in the sport, knowing Holly Holm and her background, a 3-time world boxing champion, amateur kickboxing champion. Did you think she was going to beat Ronda Rousey?
You know what? I thought that she was going to use footwork like she did in order to avoid the takedown, but I thought, can she do this for 5 rounds or 5 minutes? That was my question. I say, eventually there's going to be a clinch and there will be a takedown. That's what I thought Ronda is going to win. But Holm just stayed outside the reach the whole time. He just picked her apart. And what Rousey said later on, one punch in the beginning, early in the beginning, really rocked her. And she said, I had no more game plan. Everything was down the hill.
And boy, Edmund Tarverdyan certainly didn't have a game plan in between rounds, saying she was doing beautifully when she was doing anything but. But conversely, Greg Jackson, Mike Winklejohn, Brandon Gibson at the esteemed Jackson Winklejohn MMA camp, they came up with the perfect game plan. She executed it perfectly. And so in the fallout, everyone was expecting that come July, come UFC 200 at the newly minted T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, that we would see the rematch. But that may not be the case because Dana White announced on UFC Tonight on Wednesday that Holly Holm is going to be facing someone other than Rousey before Rousey gets a rematch, and there could be Miesha Tate.
You know, it's going to be very interesting. It's a big bet they do here, a big gamble, so to say, because what if she loses?
And
that's going to be the whole rematch is going to be over. Or is it? What if Holm loses, let's say to Tate? Let's imagine that would happen.
Who's already been defeated twice by Ronda Rousey.
Yeah, but does that mean that Ronda then fights the winner of Ronda?
Of course.
And then the winner fights Holm? Or how is this going to work?
Well, the question I have is, why did Dana White announce that in the beginning anyway? I know that Ronda Rousey is going to be filming a movie, the remake of Roadhouse. She's going to play the female version of the classic role played by the late, great Patrick Swayze. That's going to be filming, I believe, in February. She's also going to be hosting, and I think this is pretty cool, Saturday Night Live on January 23rd. And a lot of us, people I was talking to this week at WWE anyway, and there are a lot of fans at WWE of the UFC, we thought that she would use Saturday Night Live as the platform to announce the rematch with Holly Holm. That's no longer the case.
No, I think she's going to use Saturday Night Live just by making fun of herself about the loss of Holm. I guarantee you that's going to happen because, that heals the wounds for her as well. She got to get over it, and then she's got to start a new life. She will do a rematch.
You think she will come back?
That's right, yeah.
Noting that, she's now moved on to Saturday Night Live. There's also a word now that she is going to be on maybe not on the cover, but she will be in Sports Illustrated's swimsuit issue, not wearing a swimsuit, but the swimsuit is going to be painted on.
Well, she's going to need a rematch. If you watch Misha Tate and her in The Ultimate Fighter, I mean, they hated each other.
Can she come back?
No, but you can see how competitive she is. If she's not going to do this for the rest of her life, people are going to ask her about this fight. It's better to fight and then to lose again than to not fight, and in 10 years from now, when it's too late, then try to go for a rematch, because then it's like, oh, maybe I need the money. I said, no, she needs to do it now. She's way too competitive.
I've already gone on the record as saying Holly Holm beats her even faster. Am I crazy?
Yeah, I think you're crazy. I think because Rousey's not going to come forward like that right now.
What can she learn with filming a movie, buddy? She's doing all this public appearance. If the fight is going to happen in July at UFC 200, unless whenever Holly Holm fights a rematch, then it wouldn't be a UFC 200, where, let's face it, they need the biggest of the biggest fights. And that, other than involving Conor McGregor or John Jones, Ronda Rousey's their biggest star. Well, they need her at UFC 200.
I know they need her, but it's all about Ronda's head. If Ronda said thinks I want to come back, then she's going to come back.
But if she's not going to come back, camp.
I think this movie was.
She needs to leave Edmund Tarverdyan.
Well, yeah, a lot of people say that. Yeah, it was not really great game planning what they did in the between rounds. Saying to somebody who's losing, who just got their ass handed to them in the first round, saying you do beautiful work. Now you don't trust that coach anymore because he's
she does.
lying.
She's already said that she's sticking with them. So one thing I'll leave with the Ronda Rousey scenario: if she has the bathing suit painted on for the Sports Illustrated magazine, I can see a lot of guys wanting to watch paint dry and finding it exciting.
Oh,
that'll be exciting as watching paint dry, huh? Come on, brother, give me that one. Moving on to what's trending right now, National Bobblehead Day on this glorious Thursday, and there's only one host on this show that has his own bobblehead, and it's not me, although people have said I'm a walking bobblehead.
Yeah, Joe Rogan, right?
Well, Rogan did an imitation, and I notice when I'm on TV interviewing people, because I want to show that I'm emotionally invested in what they're saying, I bobble my head up and down, but maybe...
That's you dramatize? Is that the word? Well, everything. You make everything big drama. Everything is big motions.
I'm showing that I care, boss. I'm showing that I care.
If you push a button on the phone, you should see Mauro do that. And when he says, if you push this, it's record. Watch. And then he pushes. And the way he pushes, he shows the whole world. It's like a pro wrestling move.
Well,
you do it like pro wrestling.
Hey, that's why I've come home to sports entertainment.
Oh,
call it sports entertainment.
Sports entertainment. I take it
All
back.
All right, sports entertainment. WWE SmackDown on the USA Network tonight.
Boom.
This being Thursday, of course. If we're able to release the podcast on the day we said we were going to, I'm going to be very pleased. So far, so good. Now, speaking of the National Bobblehead Day, though, you do have your own bobblehead. Congratulations.
I have not one, but I have two.
Well, come on. What?
It's both from HDNet at the time, actually. It's not Access TV right now, but it was HDNet. One was a Bozzy Award. It was me in the split jumps with the bobblehead, and then the other one was just Bos's suit, and it said underneath it said HDNet.
Did you get the split jump from David Lee Roth of Van Halen?
No, I love that guy and Van Halen because they're two Dutch guys. So we loved the band Van Halen. I thought it was so cool what he did. I don't know. I used to do this as a kid, and after the first fight, I had so much energy left. There was the euphoria, everything kicked in, and I just jumped up to all the corners and showed the people the splits. And from that moment on, they called it the Rutten jump. I had to keep doing it.
I had one bobblehead in my life, belonged to Mr. Hockey, Gordie Howe. I picked it up at a Vancouver Giants game in my native Vancouver, British Columbia. Of course, Gordie Howe, who played hockey. He actually came back at the age of 52 to play with his sons, Marty and Mark. The Hartford Whalers was the the greatest. Everyone talks about the Gordie Howe hat trick. There's a goal, an assist, and a fight. Inspired Wayne Gretzky, who took his number 9 and made it number 99. And so that's my bobblehead story for National Bobblehead Day. And moving on, also trending today is hashtag first line of my novel. And boss, before we get to our first lines, I want to invite everyone listening to Rutten and Ranallo, first of all, to follow us on Twitter at Rutten_Ranallo. That's RUTTEN_RANALLO. And tell us in 140 characters or less what the first line of your novel would be. Boss, what is the first line of your novel?
You watch. People will know me. That was my first line. And you know, that was a line I used. I shouted at my mother when I did something stupid again and I was in trouble and I was walking on the stairs and she shouted at me that if I would keep going like that, I would never become anybody and I would not have a great life. I had to get my stuff together. And that's when I shouted to her, you watch. People will know me. And man, I'm so happy it came out.
The first line of my novel will simply read, he needed a day off.
You do.
Isn't it crazy?
You're so busy.
It is.
You're so busy.
But you know what? I like to be busy. I like being as busy as a Starbucks.
Whoa,
Nice, son.
Yeah,
Nice,
look
son.
at you.
Good. All
Boom,
right.
High five.
And finally, and this one means the most to us today,
big heart.
hashtag help me help them. And of course, with the advent of social media and all these kids, and they are kids, boss, you're a grandfather. You told us at the beginning of the show.
Yep.
I'm in the second half of my 40s, believe it or not. And so today we're dealing with a lot of kids who are online doing good things. Not all of them. I know that a lot of millennials are accused of, being entitled and wanting everything for free because the internet is for free for the most part. But there are some YouTube superstars and two kids to us anyway. I want to make a mention of Cameron Dallas and Aaron Carpenter. And it's hashtag help me help them. These two superstars of social media approached this website called hellosomebody.world. And it's a charitable website. And what these two want to do is they have chosen Malanti, a struggling village in northern Swaziland, Africa. And they are trying to use the millions of people who follow them on YouTube and social media platforms to influence, to heal the hurting world. And it really struck us, boss, that these two young guys are doing something so positive.
Charity is the most important thing for a person. Everybody who does something for somebody feels good about themselves. And if you spread that around and more people start helping each other, trust me, everybody looks for the easy fix. I want this car. I want to get drunk. I want to do drugs. I want to, I want to have sex. I want to, those are fixes. And in 15, 20 minutes, it comes back again. Charity is something you can think about years from now if you help somebody.
I like to use the line, you give what you get. No, you get what you give. What was my line?
It both works.
You give.
That's what it was.
What
you give.
No, and absolutely, the more you give, the more you get.
There you go.
That's what I wanted to say.
Nice.
Now, speaking of Malanti, and here in California, we are subjected to a drought of epic proportions.
Mm-hmm.
Nice to see that El Nino visited us. We're not talking about Gilbert Melendez, the former Strikeforce champion and UFC fighter. We're talking, of course, about rain, which we haven't seen for a long time. But in Africa, in Malanti, due to a historic drought, water is scarce. It's become life-threatening for the villagers. An epidemic of HIV/AIDS has claimed the lives of many, and this has left a great number of children orphaned, alone, and in need of rescue. So we invite you to follow Cameron Dallas and Aaron Carpenter and go to hellosomebody.world and make a donation and help these kids.
Yeah, help these kids. And you just think about, they want to treat 1 million kids. What if 1 million people just treat one kid? You're done, but we can get way more than 1 million people. So, yeah, people should do something. And it's not the money what you do. Even if it's $1 or $2, that is okay. It's all about quantity. The more people to do it, the more money comes in.
So help them reach their goal. Spread the word. Together we are going to change the world. And that has been this edition of Hashtag. All right, Buzzito, it is time for the feature attraction, the main event. I wanted to hire Jimmy Lennon Jr. or Michael Buffer or Bruce Buffer or any other legendary ring announcer, Joe Martinez, but just not in the budget yet.
Yeah, Jimmy Lennon Jr., he did my last fight in 2006.
Oh, with the
I was
WFA.
so happy because His voice, I love this guy's voice.
He's awesome, and his dad was a legend. And in fact, Jimmy Lennon Jr. is in the International Boxing Hall of Fame. It is a shame that his father is not in there with him. We have to fix that. But right now, we have to talk to a gentleman who, well, Jimmy Lennon Jr. has announced his fights many, many, many times on Showtime. And boss, for our first guest on Rutten Ranallo, we wanted to bring in someone inspiring.
That's what I was going to say. Inspiring. An inspiring guy who overcame something and then became a world champion.
This guy didn't just overcome something. He is the first cancer survivor to win a championship in boxing. He is known as the Miracle Man because of it, but he was first known as
the Golden Child. And why is that?
Well,
Daniel,
we're about to find out. Daniel Jacobs joins us right now, and you heard from Bazito. Daniel, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us. So, why were you known as the Golden Child?
Because I had such a promising career. I think it was given to me by an old friend, and he told me after I won numerous of amateur tournaments, he said, once you turn pro, you're going to be the Golden Child. And he always told me that, and it turned out to be true. I was something special.
Is this story true? You got bullied in elementary school, and then you fought the bully, but got in trouble, and then you found out that the bully trained at the gym somewhere, and you go like, hey, wait a minute, if I go to the gym, put some boxing gloves on, I can legally beat him up, which you did in like 2 sessions, and that made you fall in love with boxing.
Well, initially, even upon me sparring the guy, it was more so just me being in the gym and the atmosphere and everything surrounding it, just the whole scene. I felt like as if I needed to be there. Like, it was that aha moment that you find in your life. I know too many people find those aha moments, but, I was fortunate enough to have it as soon as I entered the gym, and, I never left the sport since then.
What were you like before then, Daniel?
Just was a regular teenager trying to find my way in life. I was just inspired. I was a football player, actually, from Erasmus. I used to play. And, that was something that was a goal of mine for a long time. It wasn't until the quarterback got sacked for the last final play. And, it was me juggling boxing. And I said, because of this, I'm going to choose a sport where I am the sole dictator of the outcome.
You know what? That I have always been the same with team sports also, because there's always guys who don't give it 100%, and I want to give it 100%. If somebody gives a little less, then I'm really upset with that.
Exactly. Yeah, I wanted to be the reason I win or lose.
You had a stellar amateur career, including wins over some familiar names. But what was it about the technical aspect of the sport that you knew you would be very good at? Is it your analytical mind, natural athleticism? It's not an easy sport to pick up the way you did.
Well, initially, I think it was more so the natural athleticism that I had. Me coming from football and me, coming from playing basketball from a kid, and just all around having a natural, physical, really athletic body. It was just suitable for me. And I learned that I can easily hit and not get hit. I didn't really have it mastered down, but it took me a while to really figure it out. But once I did, it was, to me, it was curtains from there.
Do you have brothers and sisters? Anybody else doing sports?
Well, it's surprising because I have an older brother who, I remember as a kid, we used to always fight, and he used to always beat me up. And he used to always go around the house saying, when I get bigger, I'm gonna be a professional boxer, and you guys better not ever ask me for money. I remember my older brother saying that, but it's surprising how things work. So now he's one of the biggest supporters of my career. He doesn't fight anymore. He just, he goes to school and he works. So it's weird that I'm the only athlete in my family, but as a kid, me and my brothers, we all fought.
Yeah, you see, my brother he's a lawyer now. He was a good athlete as well, and he still tells everybody that he used to beat me. It was when he was 8 years old, but he loves that story.
Yeah.
What about your parents? How much of a factor were they in helping you become the athlete that you are?
Well, at the time that I did turn pro, was a very critical point for me because, that's when the time you really need your father. And around that time, my mom and my dad had separated, so my dad had moved to Virginia for a while, And boxing was kind of like my role model. Boxing was, and everything that boxing teaches you, whether it's the sacrifice, whether it's just responsibility, all things of that nature. It was my biggest teacher, and I'm grateful because, at a time when you're growing up in Brooklyn in the 90s and the early 2000s, it's very rough. So for me to have that outlet and stick to it and just try to perfect my craft, man, it was a picture perfect thing for me.
Talk about growing up in Brownsville, Brooklyn. We've seen media depictions. Of course, I have the pleasure working with both you and Paulie. You guys, one of 17 Brooklyn-bred champions. But give us some insight into what was it like for you to grow up in Brownsville, Brooklyn?
Well, man, it was tough. Seeing a lot of drug abuse, a lot of gang activity, a lot of misguided kids in my age bracket. It just was really not a lot of positive energy, not a lot of positive role models and people that I can say I can follow to, have a better life. It just was more so of, me going through a regular, typical life of a teenage kid in Brooklyn and, battling bullies and, just having a handful of challenges. And, if it wasn't for boxing, man, I don't really know if I would have fell into those traps because, in those type of neighborhoods, especially back in the day, it was either two choices you had. It was either, invest into yourself, into a craft, or you can, fall subject to the streets and gang activities and drug abuse as well. So, I didn't want to be a victim of that.
Were you a troubled kid? Were there gang members trying to recruit you? Did you have all that?
I mean, it wasn't more so gang members trying to recruit me, but, everything was around. And all my friends was indulging in those type of activities. So it was just as easy for me to slip into it. But I was fortunate enough that at the age of 8 years old, I went to what they call a fresh air fund. That's at summertime. They take you and, you go to a camp or you go to a family in the suburbs. And I went to Rhode Island. And that's where I really got a chance to see what life was about. I mean, it was different from, being in Brooklyn. It was, it introduced me to just all that I can have and, what life is truly about. And that was kind of like my awakening moment. And ever since that day and that experience, I knew that I wanted more for my life, just, not just what I've seen every day growing up in Brooklyn.
You are now a champion, and I hesitate a little bit to call you that because I know you are a champion in life and you have championship skills. But, Daniel, we are in the boxing business and especially the WBA, and I don't want you to bite the hand that
right.
feeds you, even though you have to feed it. What do you make of the proliferation of titles and coming off that huge win in the Battle for Brooklyn against the previously undefeated champion Peter Quillen? Do you consider yourself a bona fide boxing champion now?
Yeah, I think that, sometimes the belt doesn't define you. I mean, I know there's a lot of politics around what a belt actually means in today's world of sports because there's so many of them. And as you alluded to, Mauro, they're saying, how many worlds do you actually need? You got
Ray
this world.
said that.
Right. So, I definitely I understand and I get it coming from a fan's perspective. But as a fighter, you're always going to have, even if you win the belt and you win a significant belt, you're never going to consider yourself a champion in your heart until you've actually beat someone of a caliber like Peter Quillen.
And what beating it was in 85 seconds. Earlier that day, Daniel, on the drive to the venue, I was talking to the rest of the crew, talking about, certain numbers and certain dates you always remember. 91 seconds, Mike Tyson dispatching Michael Spinks. And now here we have 85 seconds in the Battle for Brooklyn. Even in your wildest dreams, could it have gone that well?
No, not even in my wildest dreams. I mean, as a fighter, especially when you're trying to visualize that victory, you don't really, you think about the most dramatic things that can happen, but it's far in between. You mostly think about, a long, gruesome fight or you performing very well over the course of 12 rounds. But, a fight of that magnitude, you really wouldn't even think to even hurt a guy like that who's never really been hurt or who's never been stopped in his career. So, that was the furthest thing in my mind. But, I'm so grateful to have the skills and the training camp that we had because it allowed me to take advantage of that opportunity so perfect.
Yeah, it was really an amazing fight. Listen, you fought your fight, you were relaxed, now you come home, you spend some time with the family. How fast did people start calling you or talking or bothering you with Gennady Golovkin, the word Gennady Golovkin?
I think it was almost immediately after the fight, in the press conference, a lot of people mentioned Triple G. And, I totally get it. I totally understand it because of the position that I'm in right now. Me with solidifying my spot by stopping Peter Quillen, people are ultimately going to match you against the top guy, who they feel is the top guy in the middleweight division. So, it was as expected. But, I handled that and let the people know that there's going to be an opportunity when I fight, the middleweight king of the division. But, it's just going to have to take, some time for it to actually happen.
So you are willing to concede that he is the man right now at 160 pounds?
Yeah. I feel like he's, it's not really just the height, but it's just, level of opposition. It hasn't really been remarkable, but, he's been doing what he's been doing, which is winning and looking impressive doing it for some time now. So it's very well deserved. Like I said, I'm the new kid on the block. And even though I proved myself with the last Peter Quillen's knockout, I still have a lot more proven to do to actually be considered the number one middleweight king.
Well, you were in against Peter Quillen for a grand total of 85 seconds, and it was your 9th consecutive stoppage win since your miraculous return from cancer. I know you've probably grown tired of talking about that chapter in your life, but we would like to get into it in just a moment. But in regards to your current streak, yeah, Golovkin's got 21 consecutive knockouts, and yet I think I courted a little controversy after the fight on the panel there, and you're already laughing, Daniel. But I think, and I'll ask you honestly, can the argument be made that after you beat Peter Quillen, a former undefeated, former champion at 160 pounds, doesn't that rank right up there with any Martin Murray or even David Lemieux that Gennady Golovkin has beaten?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can agree with you. I can see how a lot of people agree with you. And I can also see how the ones who disagree. I mean, it's not too far-fetched to say that, I'm either the best or second best to Gennady Golovkin based on the paper and based on the resume. But like I said before, I understand that I'm the new kid on the block. So, mentally, it's a lot of proving to do, and it's a lot more solid wins for myself to be able to capture, to be able to consider myself the best.
You also moonlight as an analyst. Give us your TV analyst scouting report of Triple G.
Triple G is, he's a very mentally aggressive fighter. I think it's his aggression, his ability to come up the ring. It's what gets fighters frustrated, and especially not forgetting his power is one of his best assets. But, as we've all seen before, he's there to get hit. He has his flaws. Sometimes he fights in spurts. So it's going to take a real special boxer puncher to be able to, take advantage of those things, whether it's pushing him back. We see Curtis Stevens, push him back and have great success. And we've seen a lot of other fighters as well. Some southpaw fighters give him trouble with being on the back foot. So it's just about incorporating those things inside the ring, but he's definitely beatable.
What is the biggest power he brings to the ring? What would you say? If you have to give one.
I would say his ability to cut the ring off. That's a lot of mental pressure in itself, especially if you know how strong a guy can punch. If he cuts off the ring very effectively, in your mind, you're mentally going to get tired from, the pressure. So it's really going to take a really strong mental fighter to be able to take on those challenges.
Who wins between Triple G and Canelo, and why?
I believe Triple G wins because, in my opinion, he's been solid 160 for a very long time. He stopped a lot of super middleweights, a lot of middleweights. And with Canelo just now coming up, I'm not sure if he's faced that type of opposition, let alone that type of power. He's still in between for me. He's still too big for super middleweight, junior middleweight, but he's too small for middleweight as far as the elite goes. So, he still has a lot more proving to do in the middleweight division, Canelo does.
How long are you going to take to celebrate this career-defining victory? When do you expect to be back into the ring, and who would you like to face? I know you're the champion, and there are a lot of politics to have to negotiate, but what do you think will be the scenario for your return in 2016?
Well, I'm hoping, in my mind, Canelo kind of views me as the guy in the middle or the gatekeeper, before he gets to what he thinks is a really huge fight between him and Triple G. I want a guy like that. I want a guy like Andy Lee. Obviously, this is boxing. You have mandatories and people you have to fight before those things. So I'm looking forward to getting in there, maybe to about March, April, something like that. I'm still fairly young. I still want to take advantage of my youth and fight as much as possible.
Okay, let's step a little bit outside your comfort zone. I think a lot of boxers were cheering when Ronda Rousey got beaten by Holly Holm because she's a really great boxer.
Yeah.
What did you think of the fight, and what do you think needs Rousey to do in order to win the next one?
Well, what I thought about the fight, I was just as shocked as everyone else. As a fighter, as a boxer, ultimately you're going to root for the fellow boxer. So, aside from the antics that Ronda Rousey showed outside the fight that kind of tarnished her name and tarnished her image, I believe it's, it's the classiness that Holmes actually showed to make it even better performance. She showed grace, she showed professionalism, it's the way she spoke and the way she conducted herself. And I was happy because of that, because, everyone loves a humble person. Everyone loves a humble champion, especially if you're in a position like that. Not too many people get those opportunities. So it was more so, joining the bandwagon as a boxer, but at the same time, just someone who thought so highly of himself to, kind of have a taste of their own medicine.
And do you think Rousey has a chance to come back from this one, or you think the same thing will happen?
I think the same thing will happen. I don't think, clearly it was a large margin, even inside the fight, but the difference. It wasn't, to me, in my opinion, it wasn't really competitive. She exposed her and she made her look bad. And, I don't think it's going to be a couple months of training or maybe a year worth of training and a couple fights to be able to take on someone who just really outclassed you. In my opinion, Ronda Rousey is probably one of the best UFC fighters, but when it comes to stepping in there with a true former, boxing champion, it's a little bit different.
I'm just waiting for Holly Holm to be on an upcoming cover of Ring magazine.
Yeah, exactly. And that was one of the things too that turned a lot of fighters off of around the writers. Here you are. Not just a kid anything about the females, but here you are, a female MMA fighter. Be on the grace on the boxing Bible. A lot of fighters just feel like the injustice because it almost makes it seem as if they're not good enough. And in that regard, I feel a lot of people was against her, and just for everything to unravel the way it did, it was just a perfect story.
We talk about the class of Holly Holm. One of the reasons I think so many people were invested in your fight with Peter Quillen was the great job done by All Access to convey just how classy you two are, committed to your family, humble in both victory and in defeat we saw with Peter Quillen. And while there was that mutual respect going in and you guys have been cordial to each other, I was really impressed with Peter Quillen here after suffering an ignominious first defeat. The class that he showed in defeat in the ring, has he reached out to you since?
Oh, no, he hasn't reached out to me, but, I've always been a fan of Peter Quillen, and I was even more of a fan in just the way he conducted himself and how gracious he was in his very first defeat. Especially the magnitude in which he lost it. You see top champions, you've seen champions just leave the ring after they, got a loss or received a knockout for the first time. And for him to be there still smiling and to show the fans that, he's still gracious and appreciative of all the support. I mean, he blew me away. You know, it's just the utmost respect to him. And, you know, big respect to All Access as well for capturing just our personalities and, you know, letting the world know that, you know, some of us boxers are not of the status quo, and, you know, we're still there's still gentlemen out there, and this is still a gentleman's sport. And I'm just grateful to be a part of, you know, the whole movement.
Refreshing to see. Do you feel sports athletes should be role models? And if so, are you one?
I don't feel like they should be. I just feel like, you know, why wouldn't they want to be? Especially, you know, if you're in a sport where it's already considered violent, you know, you're supposed to show and we're struggling to show people the actual art within the sport. You know, it's bad enough we have, you know, these labels already on fighters, which is we can't read, we can't write, you know, we're fighters inside and out the ring, and we're abusive to this, that, and the third. Like, we just have a bad rep, and I just feel like, you know, we owe it to the sport, and we owe it to the new fans and the new generation if we're going to continue to grow this thing as it's already been growing. So am I a role model? I believe so. You know, I believe so, and it's all because of my son. You know, I understand that, you know, I'm leaving a legacy behind me. I want to lead by example. I don't want to be this, you know, I don't want to be that guy. You know, I've had plenty of role models and example in the sport of boxing, the Sugar Rays, the Muhammad Ali's, and guys like that who really stood for something. You know, it would be injustice to them, and it would be very disrespectful to the sport to carry myself in, you know, the way my mother raised me. You know.
Yeah, I think as a known person, and especially in martial arts or in combat sports or any tough sport, I think you can touch a lot of people out there. And yeah, I think, like you said, you should be a role model. You're a family man as well, but I hear that you literally move out of the house for 2 months before a fight.
Yeah, it was like 2.5, 3 months, yeah. So I go back on the weekends, but majority I stay out because, you know, it's still pretty tough. You know, being a dad, it's a lot of responsibility. And, you know, even incorporating that into your training, you know, you still have to find time to spend with the family. And having a 6-7-year-old at the time, you know, he's very demanding. So it's kind of hard for me mentally to focus. And that's why I relocated to Long Island, so that he can still be in arm's reach, but, you know, I still have the mental capacity to be able to focus and not let any little distraction get in my way.
Your son Nathaniel celebrated a birthday literally days before the battle for Brooklyn. Please share with us what he told you in regards to celebrating his birthday. Remember, we're talking about a 7-year-old kid here, everyone.
Yeah, he's a special kid. He's down for the cause. He's a team player. You know, his mom and I was discussing just ideas as far as what we can do for him on his actual birthday, which was that Wednesday before the Saturday's fight. And he said he doesn't want to do anything. He doesn't want no celebration. He said he's willing to donate his birthday to his dad just so Daddy can stay focused and bring the title back to him. And once I do that, then we can celebrate. The most amazing comment I've ever heard a child say.
Wow, it's almost like somebody coached him, but they didn't. So yes, he's indeed very special. And it's crazy.
And you see him at ringside, and it was an amazing. Again, I'll pat ourselves on the back.
All Access also.
Yeah, All Access. But here's a kid who at 7, and I got to ask you, was there ever an argument with his mom or family, that maybe you're subjecting him to this violent sport too early? Because he seems to be, you know, very mature about everything and very cognizant of what he's seeing.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, we've talked about it, me and his mom and certain family members. We talked about the idea of, you know, at this particular level, you know, Daddy's going to start taking some punches, and Daddy, you know, Daddy might bleed a little bit, and it's going to be a little vicious for my son to see, but, you know, he wouldn't have it any other way. He's one of the biggest boxing fans that I've ever seen. And even when he comes to the gym and he sees Daddy gets hurt, he doesn't take it, you know, the way a normal kid would take it. If anything, he's more motivated to be able to scream more, or to instruct me more on what to do. You know, he's the best gift that I can ever have, and to have him so in tune with the sport, man, it's a truly blessing.
Okay, now let's take a trip down to memory lane a little bit. You're on top of the world right now, but on March 5th, 2011, you just knocked out Robert Cleaver, and 2 months later, suddenly you get diagnosed with osteosarcoma. Was this something, weakness in the legs, what they say, pain in the legs? How did you feel up?
Shit, say it again. That's weird that it does that, though. Shouldn't do that.
Yeah, because we're full bars.
Sorry about that, guys. Was that me or you?
Oh, no worries, Daniel. Thank you so much. Boss is just switching gears right now. Go ahead, boss.
No worries.
Yeah, I'll just repeat the same question. All right, let's take a trip down to memory lane because you're on top of the world right now, but it hasn't been always like that. Because in 2011, March 5th, you knocked out Robert Cleaver in a match, and 2 months later, suddenly, you get diagnosed with osteosarcoma, which is a life-threatening form of bone cancer for the people who don't know. What were those signs? Were the signs what they say, weak legs or painful legs?
It was pins and needles of the legs. It was weakness in my legs because of the rapid pace that my tumor, which was wrapped around all my, all the nerves that was connected to my spine, slowly but surely left me partially paralyzed on the way down.
What happened, Daniel, that night that you were first diagnosed? I hate to be so personal, but you are a role model and you've been very open, and I think you can help a lot of people who are going through the exact same situation, and I hope one day we knock out cancer permanently. But can you share a little bit of what you went through in those first few hours?
Well, first few hours, I mean, it took a rapid pace of maybe about 2.5 weeks for me to go from actually having, a cane and just, regular, not so steady legs to me going completely immobile in a wheelchair within 3 weeks. But the last night when everything kind of went bad was, it was me going back to my apartment. I left my cell phone inside my car, so there was no way for me to contact anyone. And, I remember the next morning I got out of bed and I had no feelings in my legs whatsoever, and I completely collapsed. I hear a knock at the door, and, I kind of crawled to the door like commando style. And there's my godmother. And when she see me, she immediately rushed me to the hospital. And that's why I got all the procedures. And, they realized that there was a really deadly tumor growing inside my spine.
Yeah, and you were there right in time. They said, a couple of hours, either hours or days later, that could have been totally gone wrong, right?
Yeah, they said the rate that it was growing, they said it was undocumented. They said it was growing so fast. It gave me 2 MRIs, maybe 3 or 4 hours apart. And they said it grew even then when they took the second MRI. So the doctor said I was very fortunate to come in at the time that I did, because at the pace that it was going, it would definitely grew too big and slowed my heart down.
Wow.
How long did it take for you to overcome what was a death sentence, right, Daniel?
Yeah. I mean, it took about, overall, it took about maybe 18 to 20 months for me to get back to 100%. Was going through the radiation and, the physical therapy, me learning how to walk again, and, me gaining my strength back. So that, about 20 months.
What goes through your mind? I mean, when you hear the word cancer, it's got to be the worst. And then especially when you find out what kind of form of cancer it is. I mean, this is when Nathaniel's still young.
Yeah.
Even younger, I mean.
It's the worst news that you can possibly ever get. I mean, this cancer has affected so many people in my family. And, even when I fought Pirogue, my grandmother had cancer and she passed away, which was one of the worst times I've ever faced in my life. So for it to be hereditary and to be passed down to me, all I can think about was just the next generation and my son, and if he can become a victim of it, and, will I be able to live? Not, most importantly, to be able to be here for him. So a lot of things just went through my mind. And boxing was probably the last thing, but, just me being around and having life in general was the biggest.
How much did being a world-class athlete help you in your battle?
That's my question, too.
Oh man, the doctor said it helped tremendously. You know, they said just how effective and just the damage that it took on my body. They said if I wasn't in good shape before, or if I wasn't an athlete, you know, I wouldn't have gotten out so easy. I mean, you know, I was in a wheelchair, you know, getting strolled into the hospital, and I made a vow that I would walk out, whether it was on crutches or a wheelchair, but I would walk out. And, you know, the doctor said that me being in tremendous shape helped out a lot, you know, whether it was nutrition, whether it was just the physical state of my body. But, you know, they definitely said that it was because of my athleticism and just my body.
You said you were out like 18 months, but what you don't say is that like 18 months later, you were actually competing again.
Correct. Yes.
Well, and there's a story behind that, boss. That the reason this guy continues to give me goosebumps. He just told us that he was not only going to walk again, but Daniel, you said that you saw the building of the Barclays Center while you were battling cancer, and can you take over from there, please?
Yeah. Well, you know, it was, you know, like I said before, just to be able to be around and live for my son was the biggest motivation. But you know, in the back of my mind, I've always knew that, you know, it would be a time where I can get better and grace the ring again, you know, despite the doctor's orders, despite what they may have said to me. You know, in the back of my mind, you know, doing something for so long, you just can't live or accept the fact that, you know, it could be taken away so quickly. So, you know, for me, when the doctors told me to stay out of the boxing gym and, you know, just go to the regular therapy sessions, as soon as I got out, I went straight to the gym. And, you know, from learning and incorporating what they told me to do as far as to getting better, I just went to the boxing gym and did that and more. So if it was up to me to get back into the ring, it was going to be now, while I'm still hurt, while I'm still trying to get everything together, and it was the best decision for me.
What did you learn about cancer that maybe you want more people to know about? We all have been impacted, I believe, in one form or another, and it's just the scourge of society in so many ways. And I'm wondering, as someone who came so close to dying and now is a champion and a real role model when it comes to overcoming this rare form of cancer, what is it that we should know about it?
Well, see, the thing is the months is, you know, we try to bring awareness to the cancer as a whole. It's more about being preventative. It's more about getting people to check themselves when there isn't an issue presented, like, you know, precautions, things of that nature. A lot of people, they don't go to the hospital and get themselves checked out unless there's an actual issue. So it's more about preventing the issue and reading and doing diligent research on how you can prevent, because everyone has cancer cells inside their body. It's just certain things that we feed ourselves and that we put inside our bodies that trigger those cancer cells. So it's more so about getting educated and ultimately getting checked out before there's an actual problem.
Well, if your mother-in-law wasn't there, you probably still wouldn't have gone to the hospital, even when you were going commando to the door, right?
Exactly, and that's the mentality of a stubborn man. And, you know, I know a lot of people like that in the world. As the more you get older, the more you either fear hearing bad news or you just ignore it because you don't want to face the fact that it's a possibility. And that was my mindset. It was more so just ignoring the fact that there was something wrong with me and that I can die. You know, people they tend to hide from it, but you have to face it because sooner or later you're going to face it anyway.
Have you had to radically change your diet?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. The doctors told me once I got out that there could be no more yeast in my diet. There could be no more milk, no more dairy products. And just, you know, fattening foods. I mean, I haven't eaten fast foods, I would probably say 3-4 years now. You know, it's been a very long time. So just my health and nutrition awareness has just raised tremendously. And my diet has been one of the best, you know, since I can remember.
Is it true you want to be a full vegan by the age of 30?
Yeah, it was one of my goals. It might be a little harder. I might have to put some more years on that, but it's definitely one of my goals, man, because, you know, I've gone vegan for a couple months, and during my journey of being vegan, you just feel so superior. You feel so clean. You feel just amazing. You know, you have more energy and you're more conscious, you're more aware. it's just overall a better feeling. But it's just hard to be able to adopt that lifestyle so easily, especially when you're used to all types of, healthy meals, but, not completely vegan.
Yeah, food is one of the most important things. I never got that, until I fought again like 7 years after my last fight. I finally had a dietitian, and I felt the best I ever felt.
Right.
Hey, listen, is it true what people say that you almost come close to death, and then it is like you have a new lease on life? Do you start living your life different? Is that true?
Yeah, I think you have more of appreciation for the things that was taken away. And, I had a financial nightmare. I had a health nightmare. I just had all around, I had to adjust my lifestyle. And around that time where I was, quote unquote, the golden child, I was living life kind of carefree, and a little irresponsible. So it was a nip in the butt and just an amazing thing for me, a secret in disguise, actually, to be able to, mature in all aspects, to be able to appreciate the dollar, to be able to appreciate having health care and appreciate all these different things that, you only get into as adults. So me being a young adult, avoiding those things, now it came to me, times 10, and I was faced to deal with it. It just, it helps me grow and, helps me become just more aware, more appreciative.
We've talked about the special bond you share with your son, Nathaniel. Your significant other is Natalie Stevens, the cousin of Curtis Stevens.
Yeah.
What has she meant to you as a partner, but also as someone who has been in your corner at the darkest hour?
Well, she's a fighter, man. I've always called her my superwoman, man. She is just relentless when it comes to making sure that I am okay in all terms and aspects of my life. I mean, there was times 3 o'clock in the morning, and we had to sell our car. We didn't even have transportation. And she would come to the hospital every day, all the way up until 3 o'clock in the morning. She would leave to go home and then be back at 7 p.m. So, and this would happen every day. She would cook for me. At a time where I couldn't even bathe myself, she would do so much for me. And I'm forever grateful for her and just her mindset, what she believes in, and, ultimately.
Yeah, behind every great man is a great woman.
Yeah.
I'm 100% behind that.
Yeah.
I read in an old USA Today piece, and I love it when I read that, because all the other fighters always say, I'm willing to die out there.
Yeah.
I'd rather die than... And I always say, not me, dude. I have a family.
Exactly.
If there's a chance that I'm going to die,
Exactly.
I'll tap or I'll do something.
Right.
And you said the same thing. I'm willing to die in there, not physically.
Right.
Like if a doctor said that you're going to die in there, I say no. You see, that is honesty.
Yeah, absolutely. There's more than life to live. And there's, it's not about just pleasing the fans out there, because if it was up to the fans, certain fighters would die inside that ring. You leave it up to what they actually want. They always want that gore. They want the last little bit. And, we put our lives on the line each and every time. So, I'm fortunate that, in my last fight, the stoppers fight at an appropriate time. And, I'm just fortunate that, there's, officials take the proper precautions to take care of fighters.
Well, you showcased your physical strength and your mental strength in the ring, and we know how mentally tough you are in having to overcome what you've gone through early in life. I know you're very spiritual, and I know you meditate, you read Deepak Chopra. It's a cliche in combat sports, Daniel, but a very important one, I think, the mental aspect, the mental preparation. And what more do you think athletes and human beings in general, what more can we do to feed that spiritual side, especially in these tumultuous times?
Yeah, I think it's more so just trying to find inner peace. There's a lot of religion out there, and ultimately every religion in some way, shape, or form teach one thing, and that's love, So that's why I kind of adopted the religion love. It's more so just about appreciating yourself, appreciating your body, and wanting to be treated the way you treat others. So I think more people need to just understand that, it starts with self. A lot of people want to change the world. A lot of people want to change just the way things are today, and I get it, but, everything starts with self.
That's it. One piece at a time. One charity thing at a time. If you see somebody... Last time I was driving and there's this car standing in the middle of the road with a woman next to it, and nobody stops to try to push the car to the road. I mean,
Right.
there was a line in front of us, like 12 cars, and I go, is this really happening? You know, thankfully, yeah, I jumped out and I put the car away.
Yeah.
But people should just open doors for people. You know, you stand up from your seat if an older person walks in. All that kind of stuff that we had in the early days.
Chivalry.
It seems like to be gone.
Yeah, no,
Yeah, and speaking of charity, Daniel, Get in the Ring Foundation. Talk a little bit more about your foundation.
yeah, no, it's a special thing that I'm doing, and I'm very prideful behind, you know, having the philanthropy work that I do. You know, my website is up and running. A lot of people have been gracious enough to be able to donate to what we're doing and check out the website and continue to keep up with all that we have going on. But to just give you a brief of what we do, obviously, me being a cancer survivor, we started, do a little bit more awareness for kids with cancer. Me being a victim of being bullied, you know, we also incorporate kids getting bullied within the schools, and you know, we have sort of programs, you know, to help those who are going and struggling with bullying as well. And last but not least, you know, health and nutrition. You know, kids are going through the obesity. And again, you know, we are what we eat, and those things that we eat triggers, you know, our cancer cells. So who's to say I didn't get cancer from some of the foods that I was eating? So also kind of, you know, try to teach kids how to be preventative and, you know, how to make cool things, cool and healthy, you know, dishes that, you know, can take care of the body, and, you know, you have a little fun doing it as well. So we incorporate all those three things, and I'm very proud of it. We have fun, and a lot of people seem to be gravitating towards the positive things I'm doing, which is amazing.
And what is the website?
Getinthering.net. Yeah.
Getinthering.net.
Yeah.
Nice.
So.
What is the best book you've read? If you say to if somebody is asking you, hey, I want to read one book, what book should I read?
Which one book? Probably would be Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad?
Yeah, I would probably say.
What's that about?
Rich Dad, Poor Dad is pretty much about the book where it teaches you mentally and physically how to bring things from a mental standpoint into fruition, into actual life. So it kind of incorporates the meditation, and it kind of incorporates just how you live your life and how you take care of your finances and so on and so forth. It's a really good book. I recommend that to anyone.
Fantastic. What about the Brownsville Recreation Center? I know you had the band Approaching Storm as your ring entrance. And again, just another sign that you're a Brooklyn bred fighter through and through, and a guy who loves to give back. How did that come to fruition?
Well, I mean, it's just always been an idea of mine to incorporate my neighborhood into what I do. And it just so happened that the idea of incorporating the Approaching Storm with the band, you know, it just was perfect. I don't know how it came to my mind, but I just knew that, you know, I wanted to have a band kind of bring me out. You know, a lot of people, they bring out already self-made artists and give them the plateau and the platform to be able to have, you know, bigger and bigger opportunities. Whereas, you know, you have these struggling artists, or you have local artists that need those opportunities just as well. So for me to be able to connect with those kids who grew up in the same neighborhoods that I did and going through some of the same struggles that I've gone through, I wanted to give them the opportunity to, you know, be able to showcase their skills on a national and international level. And, you know, they're very proud of it. And when I came out, man, it was the most perfect intro that I've ever done in my life. I mean, it was just amazing to see those kids and, you know, to see the smiles on their faces and see the way the crowd react to the band. And it just was really good energy, man, just the way it should have been.
Yeah, and Boss, he joined the band in that first 85 seconds. You did a drum roll on Peter Quillen.
Hey, nice.
Yes, he did.
Well, sorry, Peter. Peter's a great guy, but you know me.
Yeah,
I was
no.
going to add one of the Ranallo-isms there, Dan.
Indeed.
What is next then in terms of the financial picture for the family? In terms of you know, you guys, you made $1.5 million each on Saturday, and your relationship with Al Heyman obviously has bore fruit. We don't know much about Al, so what can you tell us about the mysterious man?
Well, I mean, he's one of the gentleman that I've ever met in my life. He cares about his fighters. You know, I'm the very first fighter that Al took directly out of the amateurs into the pros and won a world championship. So, you know, we have an extensive history together, and we have a plan that when we first set out, you know, we always wanted to do things the right way. We wanted to be stand-up men in how we handle our business, and we wanted to be total in control of our business. And, you know, for him to be such a stand-up guy and teaching me the ropes, I mean, you know, whereas boxing you know, in the past was more so like a dictatorship. You know, the promoters and managers would tell the fighter, you know, what's going to happen, what they're going to do, and take a big cut at that. You know, Al Heyman is such a fair, honest guy, and he loves all his fighters, and most importantly, he's transcending the sport, you know, to being back what it used to be, and most importantly, taking care of the fighters. I mean, as a fighter, that's ultimately what we fight for. We fight to be able to, you know, have that legacy, obviously, but to be able to be taken care of, like NBA players, like NFL players, like every other sport out there, you know, that pays it, you know, tremendous amount of money. You know, we're putting our lives on the line. So, you know, it's just due, and I'm fortunate to be in the position that I'm in.
Yeah, Al Heyman, I only hear good things. We were talking about him before this interview as well, and only good things as well. What do you do with the family to relax now? Is it something like, for instance, Star Wars? Is this on your list to go with the family and watch the new Star Wars?
Well, my son really wasn't born in the Star Wars generation, so he doesn't know too much about Star Wars. And me not really being a fan of Star Wars, I don't know if we're going to go see that one, but what we will probably do is probably go to Disneyland, you know, for Christmas and the New Year's and just celebrate our victory, because, you know, it's a really special time for us. You know, I've worked all my life to get to this point, and for me to reach my goals in life and in my career, you know, it's just such a good time for me and my family. We just trying to sit back and embrace all of it. I mean, it's hard. It's still a shocker for me. You know, me having one of the biggest victories in such an impressive fashion. You know, I'm on cloud nine, man. It just doesn't get any better than this. And then you have guys like Sugar Ray Leonard and, you know, some of the rest of the boxing world just reach out to me and show gratitude and just respect. It doesn't get any better than this.
First cancer survivor to lay claim to a boxing championship, and both you and Peter Quillen now will go down as the two boxers who were involved in the first ever 360-degree virtual reality that Showtime Sports released. What was that like? I'm just a little bit of the soundtrack, and I'm freaking out. What was it like for you, buddy?
That was absolutely incredible. I've never seen anything like it. And this is just a new technology wave that boxing needs. I mean, you really feel like you're there. I'm seeing everyone's expression and, you know, everyone having such a great time, but it really feels like you're there. I mean, you know, to be a fighter, to be able to bring it in that way and just have such an impressive victory and see the band and see the crowd and everyone with this 3D view, man, it's going to transcend the sport in all sports and for that matter. This is just such an honor to be able to do something like this with Showtime.
I can only imagine how fast the streaming is going to need to be for phones. I mean, in the future, because this is going to keep on going. Everybody's going to do this now. We're going to run out of data. You know, slow data. We need fast, super fast data.
That's right.
Hey, the Tyson Fury fight. Did you expect him to beat Klitschko?
I didn't expect him to beat Klitschko, although I did expect a snoozer. You know, both those guys don't really have complementing styles. And, I mean, they're both big. I just knew that it wasn't going to be the type of boxing that entertains me. And, you know, just even before me watching the fight and hearing about it, you know, a lot of people was just really not receptive to it. A lot of people said it was the worst boxing match history ever. And, you know, it just was a snoozer.
Klitschko landed a deck of cards worth of punches in 12 rounds. 52 punches, my man.
Yeah, and, you know, that says a lot, you know, from former undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. I mean, this used to be the pinnacle of boxing, to be the heavyweight, undisputed middleweight champion, undisputed heavyweight champion. You have to perform, and that wasn't cutting the cake. I couldn't even watch it through the third round, and I can do watching boring fights. I'm so used to watching it, but it was just horrible.
What about Deontay Wilder and his claim to the heavyweight crown, being the first American since one of your Brooklynites there, Shannon Briggs, in 2007? Does this make it more appealing for you, knowing that maybe Wilder is there now to take over?
Yes, I mean, aside from me knowing Deontay for such a long time, it's appealing to me because, like I said before, the history of boxing and the way the heavyweight once ran all of boxing, it was, the pure gladiators of the sport. We have this mammoth-sized, amazing athlete in Deontay Wilder, who is exceptionally talented. I mean, I think everyone is just enjoying the ride, and as he continued to grow and gain more experience, I think we're just happy to to able to be along for the ride. Man, he's an exciting heavyweight fighter because he comes to fight, and even when he takes certain shots, I mean, you still see the fight come out of Deontay Wilder. So I'm a big fan of his, and I'm excited for his future.
How are you with ignorant people? I know, totally different question. Meaning people, cell phone goes off in a movie theater, road rage, all that kind of stuff. Are you one of those guys who complains about it, or you just sit back and you relax, you go enjoy the show?
The meditation helps a lot. Me trying to, not really get into those type of things. But road rage is horrible, man. I'm one who has it, especially being a New Yorker. I mean, if you're anywhere in the world, you understand just how bad New York and LA traffic could be. So I'm not really good with that. But movies, cell phones, stuff like that, I'm trying to deal with and cope with. But, I'm quick to tell somebody to hurry up and get out the way or turn your phone on or something like that.
Daniel, we appreciate your time. Congratulations for being a feel-good story that actually feels good. And congratulations on the win in the so-called battle for Brooklyn. We knew it was your territory all along.
Rutten and Ranallo bring you another Pride Fighting Championships flashback.
Pride 21, June 23rd, 2002. You against Yoshihiro Takayama. Can you just...
Was that the game plan?
Yeah, come on
But
now.
that was a question of mine.
Yeah.
You're going in and you just say, okay.
What happened there?
How did that go to play?
I told you on the ride over here.
Oh, you were injured.
I was injured.
Yeah.
My back was injured and my shoulder was injured. I could not turn over.
Your right shoulder?
My right shoulder. So that's all I could do. I could not sit back and turn it over.
Wow.
I mean, that's all I had to bring to the party.
When it was happening, what was I mean, are you able to remember what was going through your mind when
I hit this guy so hard, I mean, it jarred my elbow on my shoulder. And I could not understand how he stood up. I was starting to get scared.
Yeah.
That's the feeling that I also, because the great thing, I was there, I was calling the fight, and you guys went to town on each other, and it keeps going, and you go like, this is crazy, and suddenly they zoomed in on his face, and you saw his whole face was blown up, and I go, wow, there's a lot of damage on top of everything,
But do you, I mean, is that for you as well? Here we are 13 years later, I'm talking about it. Do people still talk to you about that fight?
Yeah, they love that fight. I mean, they call me the man of men.
It's time for Rutten and Ranallo's Feel Good 5.
Just like that beautiful introduction, here come 5 stories that will warm the cockles of your heart. Rutten and Ranallo's Feel Good 5. Boss, we begin with a University of Louisville professor. Now, this professor became an internet star after a photo of him playing with a student's kids went viral. ROTC student and single mom Monica Romero was forced to bring her 2 young children to class when her babysitter canceled on the night of Romero's final exam. What a bad babysitter. Talk about an adventure in non-babysitting.
Headbutt time.
Ooh, when her son and daughter started getting loud, the 28-year-old Romero was worried that her professor would ask her to leave. I understand that
course.
happens if it's a final exam. But instead, the professor, who's named Daniel Krebs, entertained the youngsters for 45 minutes while their mom finished the test.
Boom.
Isn't
that is very nice.
That's so nice.
That's very nice.
Monica wrote on her Facebook, "My heart is warm tonight. Such a kind and caring act." What do you got for
Staying
me?
with the kids. Lyle. This kid is 6 years old, and once a month, he treats his mother, Nicole, to dinner. He opens the door for her, pulls out the chair, talks about his day, and he pays all this. He pays actually also a tip, but he pays all this with the money that he made with doing chores. I think that for a kid to do to your mother, I think it's very special. I don't think you hear that a lot.
Did you give your kids allowances for chores or paid them for doing chores?
If I would, they would buy other things for it. They wouldn't say, hey, we're going to take you out for dinner, because normally we are the ones that take them out for dinner. But for a kid, so that's a really good...
How old is he?
He's 6 years old.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I
well,
really like that.
that's a 6-year-old, but I want to tell you about a 99-year-old now.
Okay.
A Californian woman by the name of Donna Goldstein. She won a shopping spree on her birthday, but guess what? She wanted nothing for herself. Instead, she used the opportunity to make well-stuffed holiday stockings for children in need, which she then distributed through her church. I mean,
that's it. Charity
99
again.
years old. Again, we talk about the feel-good 5, and so far I'm feeling so good.
So good. Straight to heaven. That's where she's going. Flood. They hit the homes and businesses in West Yorkshire. And, of course, when there's a flood, a lot of looters come right away, and they want to steal everything out of the house. But no here, because the Drifters MCC, that's the motorcycle club there, they said, okay, let's talk to the police. They got the okay from the police, and then they went in and they patrolled there at night and made sure that looters couldn't get in there. Then, on top of that, they have a fundraiser because they want money for kids who lost their toys in the flood. You see, now that's a great gesture again.
And by the way,
bikers.
I want to say a big shout out to everyone who's been impacted by the historic floods in Missouri, throughout the southern part of the United States. But hey, boss, there's no such thing as climate change.
Oh, it's the craziest thing. In Holland right now, they're skating on the street.
What?
On the street. Like, not on the lakes, probably also, but on the streets.
Are you sure they're not doing something else and thinking that they're skating on the streets?
No. You would think
Have
that.
they visited the cafes of Amsterdam?
You mean the coffee shops?
The coffee shops,
No,
right.
no, they didn't finish the coffee
All
shop.
right, and finally, a young Syrian couple got a long overdue wedding reception thanks to the kindness of strangers in my native Canada.
Boom.
Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. The 21-year-old husband, Mohammed, and his 23-year-old wife, Athar, they fled Syria last year, 10 days after tying the knot in a rushed ceremony. And when they arrived in Canada, journalist Erman Beer was moved by their story, so he decided to stage Mohammed and Athar a surprise party. Volunteers donated a suit, wedding dress, and cake, and a local hotel offered its banquet hall. And guess what? About 50 people, both friends and strangers, came to the reception. Both of them said it is a dream come true. We are blessed that we're in Saskatoon. Not too many people say they're blessed to be in Saskatoon, especially during the winter. But I do have a word of advice to the newlyweds.
Give me the word.
Marriage is a long meal with a dessert at the beginning.
Oh, look at that. Do you think that she pushed the cake in his face or the other way around? You think that? Oh, they said, no, we're going to save everything.
Do they still do
Oh,
that?
yeah, a lot of them do it. I did it to my wife.
One thing, now, of course, tonight being my debut on SmackDown, usually when a cake is involved in WWE Sports Entertainment, it usually ends up in somebody's face.
In somebody's face.
Boss, we did it.
We did it.
If only people knew what we had to go through to produce the debut of Rutten Ranallo and Vato. We want to now, at the end of every show, we want to play a piece of music that is provided by our followers, our fans. I hope we have a few out there. There's so much original music out there now, and I know that the music industry has been turned upside down because of technology and all the streaming sites, but we have to nurture and support musical acts. And I know you play the drums. I fool around on the keyboard, but if you want to hear your piece of original music, maybe a fight entrance for a fighter or just something you feel that we'd like to play to finish off our show, please send us a link of your original piece of music. You can tweet it to us at Rutten_Ranallo. That's RUTTEN_RANALLO. And we will listen, and if we like it, we're going to play it.
We're going to play it at the end of the show. So every time at the end of the show, hopefully somebody's going to send something in.
Right.
It's going to be two
and
people
I don't know
listening.
about you, boss, but I'm picking the first.
Okay, pick
piece.
the first one.
And after what we've been through today, I wanna play one of my favorite artists. His name is El Guapo. And after what we went through to produce the premiere episode of Rutten Ranallo, I just want to chill.
Godspeed and party on.
Hello?
Yeah, baby, it's me. Now, whoa, relax. Come on, you know I've been training hard for this fight. What do you mean, what fight? Hey, don't tell me that you didn't watch it, huh? You didn't. Why do you think I call you now? Because I wanna chill. I wanna relax. I wanna chill. And maybe have some sex. Yeah, sex. No, hey, come on. You know that you're not only good for that, baby. But you also have to know that I cannot have sex before a fight. It's in the rules, baby. No sex for a couple of weeks before the fight. What do you mean, what that got to do with you? Oh, come on, baby. Look at yourself. You're so damn good looking. Listen, if I would go out to dinner with you, there is no way I could behave myself. Now, why don't you come over to my place? Why? Because I told you before, baby. I wanna chill. I wanna relax. I wanna chill. And maybe have some sex. Okay, what can I do to make it up to you? Come on, tell me. Anything. What? You want me to sing for you? That's the first one. Okay. You want me to sing a song? I sing a song because, you know why? Cause I do anything in the world for you, baby. Anything for you. So hopefully when I embarrass me like this to you, honey, you realize it's true. Then you and I will have some dinner together, and I will show you a good time. Just to let you know that I love you, baby. Let you know that you're mine. What about that, huh? Hey, come on, listen, I'm a fighter, not a poet. Hey, but you gotta admit, I can't hold a tune, can I? Now, come on, give me a chance, baby. Okay, you want me to sing for you one more time? I wanna chill, I wanna relax, I wanna chill, and maybe have some sex. Oh. Yeah, exactly. Second round knockout. Whoa, hey, wait a minute. So you did watch the fight, didn't you? Girl, you're playing me, aren't you? But you know what? You're absolutely right. I deserve it. Okay, now, jump in the shower and put your red dress on. You know, the one you wore the first time we met? Hey, of course I remember that. What do you think? I told you before, girl, I'm not telling lies here. You are the best. Now, come over here, because you have to know by now, I wanna chill, I wanna relax, I wanna chill, for sure we're gonna have some sex. Okay, baby, see you in a few. El Guapo did it again.